The lions who refused to bow. How 3 African presidents are rewriting history. They were mocked, doubted, and nearly silenced. One came from a battlefield. Another survived genocide. The third walked into power with the whole world watching and waiting for them to fail. But what these 3 African presidents did next turned their nations into stories the world could no longer ignore. This is Continent Pulse, and today we tell you the story of Burkina Faso, Rwanda, and Tanzania, and the 3 leaders who dared to lead them: Ibrahim Traoré, Paul Kagame, and Samia Suluhu Hassan. Not as politicians, but as symbols of resistance, redemption, and quiet revolution. Africa has always had leaders, but rarely has it had visionaries with clean hands and scarred hearts, people who chose nation over ego. In an era of coups, corruption, and headlines dominated by chaos, 3 stories quietly began to rise. Stories not of perfection, but of transformation. This isn't propaganda. This is the raw truth behind 3 leaders who walked into history with the odds stacked against them, and dared to dream bigger. He was just 34. A military captain. Not a politician. Not a dynasty. Just a man who couldn't stay silent anymore. Ibrahim Traoré didn't rise through elections. He rose through fury, at the chaos tearing his country apart. Jihadist violence had swallowed Burkina Faso. Civilians were dying. Soldiers were bleeding. Trust in leadership had evaporated. And then, he took a risk that could have cost him his life. In October 2022, Traoré led a coup. Not for power, but to demand it be used for the people. And instead of rejecting him, the streets embraced him. They called him the new Sankara. But here's the twist. He refused to enrich himself. He refused to delay elections forever. He refused to bow to international pressure. Instead, he kicked out French troops, called out neocolonialism, and began reorganizing the army and rural defense, not just with guns, but with dignity. Still in power. Still questioned. Still human. But in the eyes of many Burkinabe, he is the first leader in decades who feels like one of them. In 1994, the world watched Rwanda burn. 800,000 people slaughtered. The world did nothing. And from that horror, one man emerged: Paul Kagame. A quiet soldier, scarred by exile and war, who led the Rwandan Patriotic Front to stop the genocide. But what came next was the true miracle. Rwanda was a shattered nation. No economy. No justice. No hope. He cleaned up the streets, literally and metaphorically. He brought in tech giants, transformed Kigali into a global capital. Women hold over 60% of parliamentary seats, a global record. Corruption was crushed. Education, healthcare, internet, accelerated at lightning speed. But it came with a cost. Kagame is praised as a visionary and criticized as a strongman. Can you build paradise without becoming a gatekeeper of it? That's the psychological weight Kagame carries. Survivor's guilt mixed with strategist's control. But what no one can deny is this. He turned Rwanda from a graveyard into a blueprint. When President John Magufuli died suddenly in 2021, Tanzania was tense, divided, grieving. And into that silence walked a woman. Samia Suluhu Hassan. The first female president in the nation's history. Some mocked her. Some doubted her. Many called her a placeholder. But what she did next stunned the region. She reopened Tanzania to the world. Reversed COVID denialism. Released journalists. Reached out to political rivals. And yet, she never attacked Magufuli's legacy. She honored his foundation while rebuilding the house. Her leadership isn't loud. It's intentional. Steady. Grounded. 3 different leaders. 3 different personalities. One common war. Restoring trust in African leadership. Traoré fights with fire. Kagame builds with precision. Samia leads with grace. But all are battling the same demons. Corruption. Neo-colonialism. Broken systems. Global double standards. They are not perfect. Each walks a tightrope between power and people. What makes this story matter isn't that these leaders exist. It's that their people dared to believe in them. Burkina Faso, still fighting for peace. Rwanda, still healing. Tanzania, still evolving. But in every corner of the continent, there are whispers that maybe, just maybe, a new kind of leadership is possible. Not saints. Not saviors. Just servants with scars. And if that doesn't give you hope, then you're not listening closely enough to the pulse of the continent. This was Continent Pulse. A new voice for a new Africa. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. Hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning. We're not chasing views. We're chasing truth. And the world needs to hear us now.